ask me if I know the Epic of Sunjata, the great founder of the Mali Empire? You were right not to seek out any ordinary storyteller. For I am Kuyate, Riot of the royal family. Listen well, and I will tell you of this man, Sunjata. Sunjata was born to the second wife of the king of the Mandinka people. For the first several years of his life, he could not stand upright. A blacksmith made a sturdy iron rod so that the boy might prop himself up on it. But even that broke beneath him. Then Sunjata found a branch from the sacred baobab tree, and miraculously, he took his first steps. The king's first wife seethed with jealousy, however. She saw no reason for this feeble son of a second wife to take the throne over her own son. When the king died, she exiled Sunjata and his mother. They fled to faraway lands, but each kingdom feared the wrath of the Mandinka and would not take them. Only the Mema, far to the south, did not fear the Mandinka. They are a people of proud warriors, and among them, Sunjata learned how to hunt and fight. He left his disability behind and became as fierce and strong as a lion. Before long, he was ready to take back his rightful place on the throne. When he arrived, however, he found the Mandinka capital in flames. Warriors from the far north had overrun the capital on the river, slaughtered the new king and all of the royal family, and claimed the land of the Mandinka for their lord, Sumanguru. Sunjata barely escaped the raiding parties ravaging his homeland. As the only survivor with a claim to the Mandinka throne, Sunjata would never truly be safe. Sunjata knew that he had to bide his time and hide from the Soso spies until he was strong enough to strike back.
And now we're going to play part 2, The Sting of the Scorpion.
Sumanguru was a cruel tyrant and a sorcerer in command of powerful spirits. He was said to possess a magical balafon, which would grant him victory if he played it. Whether or not Sumanguru had magical powers, he was above all an ambitious conqueror seeking to seize the lands of the old empire of Ghana, a golden kingdom of great wealth and sophistication lost to the desert. Sunjata knew that contesting such a man would be difficult. The Soso had allied with other tribes in the north, the Jollof, the Diafanu, and others who profited immensely from Soso control over the Saharan trade routes. With such powerful allies and their armies, no one dared to rise up against them. Sunjata had one advantage. He was still remembered as the crippled prince of the Mandinka. As long as this was believed, the Soso would dismiss him as inconsequential and he could build his own army. To provide proof of his miraculous transformation from crippled boy to strong prince, he took up the baobab branch from his youth and began a journey. From people to people and kingdom to kingdom, he traveled to rally support and prove that he was strong enough to retake his ancestral lands from Sumanguru. Zangaran, Labe, Niger, Tabon, and Ouagadougou. One by one, the kingdoms of the south and east rallied to Sunjata. But for every king who supported the Mandinka prince, it seemed that Sumanguru conquered 3 others. As successful as Sunjata had been, his coalition could not hope to defeat the Soso just yet. Sunjata needed a better plan. A trader came to Sunjata from beyond the Sahara Desert. He had a deep, thick Arabic accent and told of great gold deposits in Sumanguru's lands. But Sumanguru did not permit the traders access to this gold. The tyrant gave his allies control over the gold and salt trades, leaving the merchants at their mercy. This trade was the flowing blood in the veins of these kingdoms. If the blood stops flowing, the body will wither. Sunjata thought about the merchant's words. The next day, he assembled a band of raiders. If trade was the blood of Sumanguru's empire, then Sunjata would drain it, just as one drains an animal after a hunt. Sunjata raided with unbridled success. With trade diverted into Mandinka lands, allegiance to Sumanguru began to waver across his empire. Sunjata put the gold he gained to good use, assuring that his people and allies profited from the new riches. He had proven himself not only an able commander, but also an able king. With his newfound successes came greater attention though. Every city in West Africa bellowed the name of Sunjata the Lion, king of the Mandinka, the king of Mali. Sumanguru could no longer afford to ignore the once crippled prince. He assembled a vast army.
What are you doing today?
A beast is most dangerous when cornered. Sumanguru was no different. He struck southward into the Mandinka heartland, where he had slaughtered Sunjata's family before. He was rumored to have brought his mystical balafon with him to summon victory, and griots were already singing that the war had been won by the sorcerer before it had even begun. Sunjata met him by the Niger River at a place called Kirina. A long line of Soso and Jollof warriors stood tall, banging their shields and grinning at the soldiers of Sunjata's coalition. Horses and camels brought to the field of battle kicked up enough sand to shroud the sun at noon. Sumanguru himself took to the field in the dusty twilight, and Sunjata faced him from across the hot expanse. As the armies prepared to charge, the music of a balafon began to flow through the air. The decisive moment was at hand, and all of West Africa awaited the victor.
Awesome.
Armies crashed against each other. They buckled and wrenched, bristling serpents coiling and writhing amidst the clamor of weapons and the rumble of hooves. Many times, the Malian soldiers faltered, but at critical moments, Sunjata would ride across the lines to rally his men, inspiring them to push on and prevail. At long last, the Soso onslaught slowed and their resolve began to fade. Sensing that the tide had turned, Sumanguru abandoned his men and fled into the mountains. At the sight of their leader in flight, the exhausted Soso lions collapsed. The celebrations lasted for days, with the most bountiful feasts ever seen. All the kings of the coalition gathered to proclaim Sunjata their Mansa, the king of kings. Mali had become an empire, and Sunjata its emperor.
Let me know.
Mali now dominated the land on both sides of the great Niger River. Mansa Sunjata reigned freely from the gold mines of Bambouk to the city of Gao, but more was needed to stabilize the empire. Sumanguru fled to his stronghold of Kumbi Saleh, still wreaking havoc wherever he could. As long as he lived, he would be a threat to the peace of the realm. Sunjata called upon his men once again and began a long siege of the mighty Soso capital and former seat of the Ghana Empire. Sunjata would not be denied his final victory. With peace in the empire and the deaths of his family avenged, Mansa Sunjata settled well into his role as the ruler of Mali. In peace, he was as effective an emperor as he was in war, building markets and monuments across his lands. He was a model for all emperors to follow, making his country a center of learning and culture at the edge of the Sahara. And so I remain to tell his story. Balafaseke Kuyate is my name, his humble family historian, a griot of superb bloodline and patronage. And this is Sumanguru's balafon, which I stole before the battle at Kirina and played that day to inspire the victory of Sunjata.